Hi, my name is Josh. You can find me on Twitter at FYFJosh, and today I am tiering the top 24 tight ends for the rest of the season going into week 10. Also, if you like what you see here, please hit that subscribe button. We are Front Yard Fantasy, and we are putting out a ton of great fantasy football content like this. Come on in and check us out. And I have 5 tiers here that the top 24 tight ends will fall into. Just to give you a quick explanation of each tier, the first tier will be the elites. These are tight ends that have elite production almost every week. You always feel confident that they provide an advantage over other rosters. The second tier is the must starts. These tight ends are in your fantasy lineups every week, and they are difference makers at the position. You are very happy to have them on your teams. The third tier is the great starts. These guys are lower tight end ones, players that are started. They definitely are started pretty much every week in fantasy, but they don't have quite as much upside or consistency as the must starts. The fourth tier is the solid starts. These are tight ends that you can throw into your lineup every week. It's fine. I definitely would pick them up off the waiver wire if they were there and you needed a tight end. These players absolutely have upside, but they have a lot of question marks as well. Then the fifth category, the fifth tier is the streamers. These are tight ends that do not necessarily need to be on your fantasy team, but you can pick them up off the waiver wire and feel okay about it. So without further ado, let's get right in there and start tiering these tight ends. And we are going to start with the top guys, the elite tier. And the first tight end we are going to bring up is Travis Kelce. This is an easy one. You could maybe make an argument that he belongs in the elite tier all by himself, scoring 16.1 fantasy points per game. He's tied to that Chiefs offense playing with Patrick Mahomes. However, we know there are some concerns about that offense right now. That is the only reason he does not separate himself from a couple other guys we're going to talk about here. The second player I'm going to put into the elite category of tight ends is Darren Waller. Listen, these are PPR rankings. These are PPR tiers, and Darren Waller is a fantastic point per reception play. He gets a ton of targets in this Raiders offense and a lot of catches. Derek Carr loves throwing to him, and he is definitely the number one option, receiving option for the Raiders. And you might make an argument. These are the two guys that belong in the elite tier, but I'm going to add one more person. And Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is the person we are going to add into the elite tier. I love what the Ravens are doing. Lamar Jackson is throwing the ball a ton. It is not the same Ravens offense that we've seen the last couple of years. Mark Andrews is Lamar Jackson's safety blanket. I expect him to be in the elite category the rest of the season. And that's going to end the elite tier for me. We're going to move on to the must starts. And the first player I am going to put into the must start category is George Kittle. You could make an argument that he belongs in the elite category. However, I have injury concerns with George Kittle. He runs hard. It's awesome. It's awesome to watch this guy play. He is an elite talent. There's no doubt about it. He missed the last few weeks, and he just came back and had a great game. But I am not even sure if he's the number one target option on his offense. Deebo Samuel would be that for me. And Brandon Ayuk also had his best week of the season just this past week. Also, we got to keep in mind that Trey Lance at any time could become the starting quarterback for the 49ers over Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think Trey Lance is going to want to run the ball a lot. Less targets for all the receiving options. George Kittle, he's absolutely a must-start tight end, but I cannot put him in the elite category just yet. But he does have elite talent. The second tight end I want to bring up that's going to go into the must-start category is TJ Hockenson. TJ Hockenson, again, a great PPR play. His offense is not great, but I believe he is the number one receiver in this offense. He's not even a wide receiver. He's a tight end. He's going to get a ton of targets every week. He's a must-start guy, 100%. And we're going to put one more player into the must-start category, and that's Kyle Pitts, rookie sensation, Atlanta Falcons tight end, Kyle Pitts. Look, Calvin Ridley is no longer with this offense for the foreseeable future. We do not know exactly how long he's going to be out, but he could be out the remainder of the season. And Kyle Pitts is the best receiving option that they have at this point. Now, this is a mixed bag because while he probably will get more targets and receptions going forward, he's going to get better coverage. Listen, he's awesome. He's a must-start tight end. I'm having him in my lineup every week going forward. That's going to end the must-start tier for me, and we are going to move on to the great starts. And we're going to start the great start tier off with Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki has had a fantastic fantasy season so far. He has looked great in this Dolphins offense. This is a breakout season from Mike Gesicki. I feel great about putting him in my starting lineup. Now, I believe the must-starts do separate themselves from Mike Gesicki, Kyle Pitts, TJ Hockenson, George Kittle. I absolutely rather have them in my lineup, but Mike Gesicki's as close as it gets without falling into the must-start category. After Mike Gesicki, we're going to put in Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert has been more involved in this offense since Zach Ertz has left, and obviously there's going to be more upside. He's going to be on the field a ton. He hasn't quite put it all together, but he's definitely a great start tight end. I feel very confident with him in my lineup. After Dallas Goedert, we're going to put Dalton Schultz. And man, well, Dalton Schultz has been a surprise this season, hasn't he? Coming into this year, we weren't really even sure if he was going to be the starting tight end for the Cowboys. There was questions about Blake Jarwin. Was he going to be starter, Dalton Schultz? But Dalton Schultz has been the starter, and he has looked fantastic. He's produced for fantasy. You want him in your lineup. I am a little concerned about when Michael Gallup comes back, which I think could be this week. He could take away targets from Dalton Schultz, but again, at this point, Dalton Schultz is a starter. He's a great start in your fantasy lineup. After Dalton Schultz, we are going to put Rob Gronkowski. And Rob Gronkowski is actually the third highest points per game at the tight end position out of all tight ends so far this season. However, he's missed quite a few weeks now with his rib injury. Gronkowski is maybe closer to the must-start category, but again, there's concerns with this injury. There's concerns about his target volume when he comes back. They have so many weapons with this Buccaneers offense, but I want pieces. Gronk absolutely has a connection with Tom Brady, and he's a touchdown machine. As long as the touchdowns keep flowing, Gronk is going to be a must-start option going forward, but right now I'm going to put him in the great starts because of all the concerns I just laid out. And there's going to be one more player that falls into the great start tier, and that's Dawson Knox. Much like Gronk, when he's on the field, he is producing. He's in an elite offense. However, he has been injured the last few weeks, but he was having a breakout season, and Dawson Knox was actually ahead of TJ Hockenson, ahead of George Kittle, ahead of Kyle Pitts when he was playing. Dawson Knox was having a breakout season. If he's somehow on waiver wires out there, if any of these guys are on waiver wires out there, go and pick them up now because they are great starts at the tight end position. People might not realize it right now. That's going to wrap up the great starts tier, and we're going to move on to the solid starts. And we're going to start the solid start tier off with Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has looked really good since he's been traded away from the Eagles, and now he's on the Cardinals, and he's in a high-powered offense. However, I have concerns about what happens when everyone's healthy. What happens when DeAndre Hopkins is fully healthy, Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk, AJ Green? Are there going to be enough targets to go around to make Zach Ertz an every week option at the tight end position? I'm not so sure. I want him on my fantasy teams. He's a solid start, but he is not quite in the great start category for me. After Zach Ertz, we're going to put Noah Fant. Noah Fant is a great tight end talent. He has a ton of talent, but I do not trust this offense at all, really. He was looking really good while Jerry Jeudy wasn't on the field, but since Jeudy has came back, Noah Fant's targets and receptions have gone way down. He's more of a solid start now than a great start for me. After Noah Fant, we are going to put rookie breakout Pat Freiermuth, who has so much talent. He is really overshadowed by the other rookie, Kyle Pitts, but Pat Freiermuth's closer to him than you might think. He was a second-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he has looked so good without Juju Smith-Schuster in the lineup. He is getting those available targets that Juju Smith-Schuster is taking, and it seems like Ben Roethlisberger trusts him. Pat Freiermuth just had his best game of the season last week, scoring 2 touchdowns. He looked great. I want Pat Freiermuth on my fantasy teams. He's a solid start. After Pat Freiermuth, we are going to put in Logan Thomas. And Logan Thomas played the first 4 weeks of the season. He played for 100% of the snaps. The Washington football team just gave him a lot of money, and he was looking really good before he got injured. Yes, Ricky Seals-Jones has looked pretty good as a replacement, but I do believe that the team wants Logan Thomas to be their starting tight end. He's going to be heavily involved. Pick him up if he's available on the waiver wire. And that's going to end the solid start tier for tight ends for me. And we are going to move on to the streaming tier, the streamers. The first tight end I'm going to put into the streamer tier is Hunter Henry. And while he has produced a decent amount of fantasy points so far this season, it's really been on the back of touchdowns and low volume. He does not get nearly enough targets or receptions to make me feel comfortable about starting him every week. He's more of a streamer for me. After Hunter Henry, we're going to put in Tyler Higbee. And Tyler Higbee just had a really good week getting 10 targets, and he had a touchdown called back. And this is a high-powered offense. You want pieces in this offense. Matthew Stafford has had an outstanding year so far, but Tyler Higbee is going to be boom or bust throughout the season. He's definitely not, we can't even guarantee he's the third option in the receiving game. I would put Van Jefferson ahead of Tyler Higbee at this point. So when it comes down to it, he's a streamer right now, a boom or bust streamer. After Tyler Higbee, Tyler Conklin. It might surprise you that Tyler Conklin's gotten a lot of targets so far this year. He's a valuable tight end, and I think he's the third option ahead of KJ Osborne for this Vikings offense. Tyler Conklin, you can feel okay putting him in your lineup almost every week because of the volume. After Tyler Conklin, a very similar tight end, Dan Arnold. Not a very good offense, but he is as targeted as any receiver in the Jaguars offense. I like Dan Arnold going forward. I think you can throw him in there. And like I said, feel okay about it. After Dan Arnold, we have Evan Engram. New York Giants tight end Evan Engram, who came into the league as a first-round pick, high draft capital, had a great rookie year, had so many people set high expectations for him, but he's never quite lived up to it. He's been playing pretty well so far this year, but the Giants offense has lacked receiving options throughout the season. Once everyone is back and healthy, I'm pretty concerned for Evan Engram's volume. Right now, though, you can plug him in and feel just fine about it. After Evan Engram, we have an upside play here with Cole Kmet, who just had his best week of the season this past week. And as this offense grows and Cole Kmet grows with this offense and Justin Fields, I do see a world where he could be an every week starter. But right now, he's a streamer. He has a lot of upside, though. So you're really just calling your shot if you're taking Cole Kmet over these other guys, but he has as much upside as them as well. After Cole Kmet, we're going to put Jared Cook. Now, the Chargers, again, they have a high-powered offense. I like what I've seen out of Jared Cook so far this year, but the other tight ends are involved. Everyone's involved. Jared Cook is a fine streamer at the tight end position. After Jared Cook, we're going to put CJ Uzomah, who's looked good out there for the Bengals, but he is a touchdown-dependent tight end. If the touchdowns don't come, you are not going to want CJ Uzomah in your lineup. And the last tight end streamer we're going to put into this tier is Gerald Everett. He hasn't had a fantastic season. He's dealt with some injuries, but Russell Wilson is coming back for the Seahawks, and there is a connection that could grow between these two guys. Again, he's a very upside play, but he's as good as an option as the rest of these guys in my mind. All right, so that is the top 24 tight ends put into tiers, the elites, the must starts, the great starts, the solid starts, and the streamers. Please subscribe to Front Yard Fantasy. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day.